We were expecting the jury to deliver its conclusions on the Fishmongers Hall terror attack in which Jack Merritt, 25, and Saskia Jones, 23, were fatally stabbed. And we are hearing now, let me get that up for you, that the jury has concluded that Saskia Jones, who was 23, and Jack Merritt, who was 25, were unlawfully killed. So that is the inquest jury into their deaths in the Fishmongers Hall terror attack. It is concluded that Saskia Jones and Jack Merritt were unlawfully killed. Excuse me. There you have Saskia Jones. She was 23 when she was killed. Jack Merritt, he was 25. There he is. And they were fatally stabbed by Usman Khan. It was an alumni event for Cambridge University's Learning Together. There is Usman Khan, Learning Together Offender Educational Organisation. It was in London. You may remember it, November the 29th of 2019. Now, it's taken 6 weeks for a jury at the Guildhall in London. It's heard first-hand accounts of the attack and witnesses outlining authorities' dealings with Usman Khan beforehand. He launched his attack, as I said, on the 29th of November of 2019 inside the Learning Together event. It was in the Fishmongers Hall on the north side of London Bridge. Miss Jones, Saskia Jones, she was a volunteer at the event and she died from a stab wound to her neck. Jack Merritt, he was one of the organisers of that event. He was stabbed 12 times, including a fatal wound to his chest. As I said, it was almost 2 months of evidence at the Guildhall in the City of London, and the jury was told that Usman Khan had planned and carried out this attack 11 months after he was released from prison. He was jailed in 2012 for his part in what was a foiled terrorist plot to blow up the London Stock Exchange. So 2012, Usman Khan was jailed for his part in what was a failed terrorist plot, as well as plans to set up a terrorist training camp. Now, in those 6 weeks of testimony, the inquest has heard that on a number of occasions, intelligence on Usman Khan was not properly shared between all interested parties. There were 2 days of closing remarks, and the coroner, Mark Lewcroft, told the jury they'd have to address 3 main issues. One was how a former terrorist prisoner was managed on his release from prison. I'm going to leave it there, and we're going to bring in our Home Affairs correspondent, Mark White. What's the latest, Mark?
Well, clearly significant criticism in the verdicts that have been delivered by the jury here in the inquest into the deaths of Saskia Jones and Jack Merritt back in November of 2019, with particular criticism about the way in which Usman Khan was managed in the community. He had been released from prison some 11 months before he carried out this terrorist attack. He had been jailed, of course, in 2012 for his part in a plot to detonate a bomb at the London Stock Exchange and to set up a terrorist training camp. When he was let out, the security services and the police did believe that he was still an individual who posed a significant risk, but intelligence on that, key intelligence, was never properly shared between different agencies, and those agencies we're talking about the police with the prison service, the probation service, who were responsible, of course, for the managing of Usman Khan back out in the community. And on that issue, the sharing of the intelligence, again, the jury said that they believed that failings by state actors here did contribute to the deaths of Saskia Jones and Jack Merritt. And on a third issue, another important issue about the way in which the event that Usman Khan launched his terrorist attack at, the way in which that event was managed, again the jury found that failings in the way that event was managed contributed to the deaths of these 2 young workers in prison rehabilitation. It had been an event by the Learning Together organisation which looks after prisoner rehabilitation and education. It had been celebrating its 5th anniversary and had carried out, assembled an event at Fishmongers Hall on the north side of London Bridge on the 29th of November in 2019. Saskia Jones had volunteered with Learning Together before, and she'd been asked if she wanted to attend the event. She attended the event. Jack Merritt was one of the organisers of this Learning Together event, and Usman Khan, who had participated in Learning Together activities, was also invited along with a number of other ex-offenders. And it's clear from the evidence that we heard during this inquest and from the way in which the jury marked out that questionnaire at the end about the failings that they perceived from the evidence, that the way in which Usman Khan was managed back in the community, the intelligence that was shared, and the way in which, of course, he was allowed to travel to London and attend an event that really had little or nothing in the way of security checks. These were all failings which the jury found contributed to the deaths of Saskia Jones and Jack Merritt.